What if your AI just worked for you in the background while you slept, while you're at meetings, while you're vibe coding the next calculator app? It'd be pretty cool, right? Well, now it can, and in a way that's easier than ever, because Anthropic just released Claude Routines, which are basically repeating automated tasks that run when you're not around. And in this video, I'm gonna show you exactly how to set them up, and then 29 things that you can automate with it right now that are actually useful in the real world. So the simplest way that I can explain Claude Routines is you set up a task once, and you tell Claude when to run it or what should trigger it, and then it just runs automatically in the background. So it could be something like, every Monday, analyze my stock performance over the past week and give me a summary. Or it could be, when someone submits a type form on our website, write up a proposal based on what they had said and then email it to them. Or every night, check for bugs that we shipped in our code that day, and if there are any, suggest fixes and send them to me in the morning. There are two types. The first is local. These run just on your computer. They can access your local files, which is quite cool, but they can't run if your computer is turned off. Personally, for me, that's really annoying. But then remote routines run on Anthropic servers. These can run even when your computer is fully turned off, but they can't access local files, at least right now. So with that brief overview, let's talk about how to actually set this up. To start, you will need access to Claude Code. That does require at least a $20 a month plan. Here I'm in the desktop app, and we're just gonna navigate over to Code. Now you can see on the side here, we have routines. We'll click that. Now we will go to New Routine. Again, this is where you can choose either local or remote. I am going to choose remote. Now, let's run through what we're seeing here. First up is the name. You'll put that here. Try to be somewhat descriptive with it. Then we'll have the prompt. This is probably the most important section. And again, because this is going to be running continuously, you want to make sure you put a lot of effort into this prompt. I will also give you a bunch of example prompts later in this video. Now, I always feel like this makes more sense with an example. So I'm gonna set up a routine right now, and it's going to be a routine that analyzes semiconductor stocks and then gives me an analysis every week. I'm gonna connect mine with Notion, and you'll see in my Notion here, I have a list of semiconductor stocks, like a watch list. These are the ones that I want to analyze. So we're going to write a prompt that is something like this. Look at the stocks in my Notion document, which is linked below. And every week, research the latest news and analysis on these stocks, then summarize it to me in a report, which you will add to the bottom of the Notion document. Use the methods of some of the best investors of all time, people like Warren Buffett or Ray Dalio. Additionally, give me buy, sell, or hold ratings for each of these stocks. Cool. Now that may not be the best prompt in the entire world, but it will get the job done, and it's good for our example. Now you'll see here, you can select a GitHub repository. If you aren't super technical or don't know what GitHub is, don't worry about it. We don't need it here. But if you're doing a lot of heavy coding, that is where you will add the repositories where you want Claude to be working in. Then you can select a trigger. So this is going to be what makes the routine happen. The most common one is a schedule. So here, I'm going to select weekly, and I'm gonna do Monday at 9 a.m. I'll add that as my trigger. But if we didn't want to do that, some other options are, one, you could trigger it from an API. So in the example I gave earlier, where say if on your website you have a form for people to fill out, when that's submitted, you could have that trigger your Claude routine to start, say to look at what someone submitted, write up a proposal to them, and then email it off. The other thing you can add is a GitHub event. So when a GitHub fires, that's kind of like the API, but it's just within GitHub. It makes things a little bit easier putting it all in there. You will need to select your repository in order to do that, obviously, which is why we can't. But for now, I'm just gonna keep the schedule. I like that, that works for me. Now, connectors are where you can integrate with other tools. So you can click Add Connector down here. You will only be able to add your available connectors. Currently, I only use Notion, so that's why there's nothing there. But there are a bunch more that you could add. Now, here is where you will see your routines. There are limits to the number of routines that you can run. I'm just gonna throw up on the screen the limits here because I actually don't know them off the top of my head. Then you can also click in to see your routine. You can edit the instructions. You can see when it runs. I also want to see if this actually works. So we're gonna run it right now. And now it's done. So if I go back into my Notion, here I had the watch list. Here I was just brainstorming some instructions. And here is the report. Index up 25% year to date. NASDAQ's declined. Export control escalation. CapEx cycle remains intact. Cool, that's good to know. Leverage watch, okay. And then summary. Perfect. Cool. So now if I wanted to improve this, I would maybe have it make a specific page for each week's report. Right now, it's just gonna put them all in here. But you can see this, and this just runs. Literally forever, I would have a weekly report on semiconductor stocks. It's pretty cool. So with that, let's jump into a bunch more use cases. There are 29 of these. And I'm gonna break this down by who you are. Because the beauty of routines is it's not just for developers. These are for anybody. And there's a bunch of different use cases across every area of life. So first up is normal life stuff. First, we have a weekly spending digest. You could drop your credit card or bank statements, like export a CSV into a folder, and then every Monday analyze that, flag anything unusual, give you a summary. Also for each of these, I've written out a prompt that you can steal and use this exactly, as well as some instructions to set this up as a Claude routine. So frequency, connectors required, and whether it's local or remote. Number 2, a meal prep planner. So it checks your calendar and then generates a meal plan based on your dietary preferences and fitness goals. You could include any allergies, things you like, don't like, and that's just ready for you every single week. 3, weekly health check-in. So I think the coolest way to do that is with journal notes, say if you're doing like journaling consistently, but you could also set it up to like your Strava or something like that and give you reflections, analysis on that. So sleep consistency, workout frequency, energy levels, anything like that. Number 4 is a morning briefing. I feel like this one's kind of generic. It's like a pretty common use case, but it is helpful. So every morning reviews your to-do list, calendar events, etc., notes you left yourself, and then gives you a briefing. It's like your chief of staff who updates you. Here's what we got to do today. This one I think is super cool, the learning tracker and recall engine. So you point Claude at your notes folder, it reads all of that stuff. So this could be if you're learning from a podcast or a book, or say if you're a student, and then sends you a spaced repetition style summary of the things that you learned. So they actually stick, you have to review these. Monthly budget review, I think this one is really helpful. It's sort of like having a CFO for your life who looks over your finances. It's like, hey, you're spending a little bit too much here, we could cut back here, you could maybe even spend more here, and it's just sent right to you. Okay, now we're getting into knowledge workers and employees. Number 7, inbox triage and a daily action list. Again, this one's kind of common, but scanning your email or your Slack and then produce a priority ordered action list so you know exactly what you gotta get done. You can even draft up responses and then you choose whether or not you wanna send them. Number 8 is the end of day work wrap up. So Claude reviews your task list or daily notes, summarizes what got done, flags anything that slipped, and drafts a clear priorities list for tomorrow. This is great for people who really love to optimize productivity, like myself. It also kind of hypes you up because you get to see everything you accomplished in a day, which we don't always take time to do. So 9 is a weekly status report to send to your team or to your boss. Looks at everything you did, things that still need to be done, and then drafts that weekly status report. This is great if, like me, you kind of forget what you did during a week and you want someone else to look at all of that and just handle it for you. 10 I think is really cool in its competitor monitoring digest. So you could use a tool like Visual Ping or HexoWatch to watch your competitors' websites or key pages, and then set up a webhook that fires whenever there's a change. Claude reads that, analyzes it, see what it means for your business, and then tells you about it. 11 is SOPs and documentation drift check. This is one of those that's kind of boring, but insanely valuable for companies. I just say boring because I hate doing this stuff. But if you have internal docs, they probably get outdated after a little bit because people add in more information or change some docs somewhere else. Claude can look at recent updates or key messages and then update all of those documents for you. Also, I don't know if I mentioned this yet, but this document with all of these use cases and prompts is available for free. I will link to it down in the description, so you can get all of these. 12 is an onboarding doc updater. So every time a policy or process changes in your business, then it triggers an automatic review of your onboarding docs. That's pretty cool because again, those get outdated quickly. This next section is entrepreneurs and solopreneurs. 13 is a content calendar autopilot. So each week, Claude reviews your content pipeline, checks what slots are empty, generates fresh topic ideas, recent performance notes, and any other themes you have flagged. So you'll have content and content ideas ready to go. A lead follow-up draft generator. So this one I mentioned before, but when a new lead fills out your contact form, it automatically fires an API trigger, reads what they said, and then drafts a personalized follow-up email. 15 is a client report generator. So at the end of every month, Claude pulls data from your project tracker or notes, and then drafts a clean professional client progress report. This is especially cool since now you can use Claude in Excel. It does a pretty good job at that. 16, social listening. Claude scans a folder of saved mentions, comments, competitor posts, industry content, other things you'd have in a swipe file, and then produces a short digest. Like here's what's working, here's what topics are gaining traction, what people are talking about, things like that. An overdue invoice follow-up drafter. So Claude checks for any overdue payments and then drafts a polite, personalized follow-up message for each one. So you don't have to copy and paste and you're not losing out on money. A newsletter first draft. This is great if you just have to make sure that what it's writing is actually good, but as a first draft, it's awesome. So it reviews your notes, saved links, content from the week, and then drafts a newsletter outline. You can then go in and edit that, makes it much easier to ship out a newsletter each week. Next up, these are for developers. 19 is a nightly bug fixer. So every night at 2 a.m., Claude pulls the top open bug from your issue tracker, attempts a fix in a sandboxed branch, then opens a draft PR with a description of what it tried. So you wake up to a bunch of proposed solutions instead of needing to come up with everything yourself. So every time a pull request is opened in your repo, Claude runs it through your team's customer review checklist, some security patterns, style guide, etc., and then leaves comments before someone else looks at it. This makes it much easier to review. So every week, Claude scans your merged pull requests and then references them against your documentation. If there's any differences, those get flagged, and then Claude opens a PR to update it automatically. This is a really big issue as you code faster and faster. I've heard of like entire startups are just building this. So Anthropic might wreck them. Deploy verification is number 22. So when you actually deploy something, it pings your Claude routine, then Claude scans error logs, runs checks against the new build, posts a go or no-go verdict to your release channel before anyone has to manually check. Basically saves a bunch of dev time checking before things go out. So when your monitoring tool fires an alert, hits your Claude Routines API endpoint, and Claude pulls that, looks into it, what's going wrong, drafts a diagnosis, and proposes a fix. So then we've got translating code across languages, which is pretty cool. Like if you run an app that works in a bunch of different countries, when you push an update in one language, Claude looks at that, sees it, translates it, and then creates a PR in the new language. And this next section I call life upgraded, because they're a little bit more complex, but anybody can still do them. Just might take a little bit of learning. Okay, now this one's pretty cool and is getting popular online. The idea is a household command center. So Claude reviews a shared family notes page, could be Notion, where people can drop tasks, appointments, events, projects, things like that. And then it organizes that into a weekly digest. What needs to happen this week, what to order, what to schedule, etc. Now, a key theme that you're probably seeing here is it's very beneficial to clearly lay out and use specific tools to handle all of the stuff that you do, because then you can pipe those tools into Claude or some other AI and have it take care of everything for that. If you use like 10 different note-taking apps and sometimes you just text someone a reminder and all of that, it does become harder. Now, as AI gets better, that will become less of a problem, but there is huge value right now actually in condensing everything into just a few key apps, but also making sure that you list everything out in there. Like you fully flesh out everything that needs to be done. So even I'm trying to work on that right now to do more of that so that I can get more value out of AI. This is another kind of cool one for your family. Claude reviews the week's completed tasks, events, any open loops, and then writes a short week in review. Like, here's what you did, here's what you gotta do next week. It kind of keeps everyone on the same page. For some reason, I feel like Mark Andreessen would use this. Now, this one is tied into another video that I made recently, which is the personal LLM knowledge base. This is the idea that Andre Karpathy has talked about, but it is auto-maintaining this. So before, you had to go and tell Claude to update this thing, but now if you saved articles, notes, bookmark ideas, put them in those MD files, Claude could run, say, every day or every week and update that personal knowledge base for you. That's super clutch. 28 is a fitness programming auto updater. So Claude reads your workout logs, checks your progress against your goals, and then adjusts next week's training plan. This assumes that you write your training plan out in something like Notion or another tool that Claude can connect to. Or if the app that you use has an API, you can pull that data in from there and feed it to Claude. And then 29 is a weekly research aggregator. So say you're obsessed with a topic like AI tools, longevity, real estate markets, whatever. You save links and articles throughout the week, but you don't have time to synthesize them. Like I know I have a bunch of stuff sitting in my Readwise that I still need to get to. Claude could read through that every Friday, extract the key ideas, find the signal, and then create a document that has all of that for you to look at easily. Could even build you a little quiz of like, here's the most important stuff that you need to know, and you get to go through it. So that's Claude Routines and 29 different use cases. If you have any questions, please drop them in the comments below. I try my best to respond to those. Right now, this is just a research preview, but it's gonna get better over time. There's a lot of cool stuff out there if you're willing to put in a little time to learn this.